Hello, Jag Nation. This is Justin Vasquez Bermudez for another episode of Jags Tonight. Thank you for watching. We have a very special guest today. We'd like to introduce you to Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, say hi to the camera.
Hello.
And let's start off. What motivated you to be a teacher?
So it was my junior year of college at Texas A&M, and I had my major, which was history. I still didn't really know what I really wanted to do with it yet. So I was just exploring my options and talking to my advisor. And then I noticed that there was a teaching program for history majors at A&M, and I really jumped at it because I thought it was a really great opportunity to contribute something back to, whichever community I ended up with. And I'm happy it ended up being Austin. So I just was aware and knew of just all of the significant problems we as a society are still struggling through, and I feel like I could do something about them as a teacher.
Were you originally from here, or?
I was born in Oklahoma City, up to the north, and since my dad was in the military, we moved every 2 to 3 years or so I really don't even have any memories of Oklahoma. But so I don't really claim it as home, and since I moved so often, when people ask me where am I from, I really don't know what to say. But if I live here long enough, which I hope I do, I can maybe say Austin in 2 or 3 years.
Well, did you ever have a childhood, growing up?
Yeah, there were pros and cons. I mean, I got to meet a lot of people since I moved so often. So, when I would say, for instance, in 4th grade, I lived in Alabama for a year, and, I liked my teacher, I made a lot of friends, and after that, we moved to Illinois, and I was there for 5th through 7th grade, and again, I met friends that I liked, and I liked my teachers, and then I moved overseas. So yeah, I've noticed some people here that I've taught will say, yeah, I've known this person since middle school or kindergarten, and that's hard for me to relate to since I had to restart so often with my friends and where I lived. But I still keep in touch with some of my friends that I met. So my childhood, I think, is certainly different from a lot of people's, but you get used to it. So.
How did you manage that?
Well, I think my parents were very supportive. It's just they knew how hard it is to start over a lot. Because they weren't only working with me. I have a sister, so they had to manage both of our experiences going through change, and a lot of change. So I did the best I could. It honestly wasn't too hard until I moved halfway through high school. In 8th through 10th grade, I was living in Germany, and I was going to school on a U.S. military base, and I made really close friends. Probably the closest friends I have really had. So moving after my sophomore year was difficult, and what made it even more difficult was the fact that there's 3 of us, and my 2 other friends were staying there. So to be the odd person out and move away really, really was hard. So I just had to really focus on staying in touch with them and leaning on my parents when I was struggling at school, because I was. So you just need to use whatever support network you have.
What's the difference between normal school and military school?
Well, the biggest difference is that all literally the whole student body are all kids of basically people in the military. So you all come from a very similar background, a background that is very used to having to go through big changes. So in a way that can draw you together with other people. But other than that, the classes are, you know, like pretty typical high school classes. So I don't feel like I had an exceptional experience that much in that way, but yeah.
Well, we'll take a quick break, but before we go, here's a quick news segment from our producer, Mr. Vela. Let's take a look.
Everyone, welcome to the stage, Miss Taylor. Mamma mia, isn't she a spicy meatball? Welcome. So I remember when we were at our orientation before school started, you mentioned that you had a killer mac and cheese recipe.
Yes, I'm using mac if I do say so myself.
What cheeses do you use?
I use Gouda, I use sharp cheddar, I use Colby Jack, Monterey Jack.
Damn.
I use a mild cheddar. I use a little bit of mozzarella.
That's like 6 cheeses.
Yeah. And cream too, cream helps.
God bless America. That's great. So I'm introducing a technique that I learned several years ago. I think it actually got popular on TikTok like a year or so ago, where you don't drain it at all.
Oh,
It's
nice.
all in the same pot. So you have your pasta that we have in there right now. It's slowly being brought to a boil with these weird burners that were in my classroom. But you put just enough water to cover it, and then you bring it to a boil. You cook it for about 6 minutes till it gets al dente, and all of the starch, you can even see all the starch, starts to thicken the liquids. And the key thing is adding evaporated milk,
Okay.
because all of the, essentially most of the like water liquid in here has been evaporated, so all the proteins in there will help kind of get it thick and creamy. You add that, you add your cheese, you cook it for another 2 minutes, and then you're left with a really nice creamy mac and cheese.
Nice, thank
Isn't that
you.
fun?
I
Isn't that
never
fun?
knew that's why you use evaporated milk. I just,
It's the same thing like your also classic Thanksgiving tradition of pumpkin pie.
okay.
That's why you use evaporated milk for that too, because otherwise if you use normal milk it would get too runny. So it's still gonna take a while. I know you were eager to leave and try it, but like I said, this weird burner that I'm using is taking a while to get to a boil. So if you'd like to sit and wait, you're welcome to. Once it starts boiling, it only takes about like 8 or so minutes.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Bye, Miss Taylor. I mean, I know you're right there, but you know, for the camera, it's kind of like you're. Alrighty, and now without any extra flour or any really draining or a lot of work, our mac and cheese is done. Thank you guys. That's the spicy mac and cheese. Mamma mia, other Italian stereotypes. I guess we'll see what cooking segments will look like in the future, but thanks for tuning in. Chef kiss.
Welcome back to the show, and we have Mr. Miller again. We're back at it again. And, well, what is your favorite hobby?
Oh, I would say my favorite hobby is definitely reading. I really enjoy reading science fiction and fantasy. I also really enjoy reading history, and I also really enjoy reading like political theory and stuff. So if I have extra time in the morning, I try to read. If I have time in the evening, I try to read, and it's what I do on the weekend. So definitely my favorite thing.
What are you currently reading?
I am currently reading a book called The House of Rust, and it is about a girl named Aisha. So she goes on this adventure trying to rescue her father, who's a fisherman and gets lost at sea. And it's a very strange adventure. It's very surreal. They encounter some weird things, and her companion is a talking cat. When they return, she finds that home is not exactly how she left it, and mystery ensues. So it's quite entertaining. I'm going to try to finish it this weekend.
Besides reading, what is your favorite thing to do?
I also play a lot of video games. With my friends, we usually either play Call of Duty or FIFA. I also use Discord, and one of my friends who I met in Maryland will stream the video games he plays sometimes, so it's like a really good opportunity to just like, you know, catch up, talk, and have something fun to watch too. So a lot of my friends are like online. You know, I have 2 to 3 friends in Maryland. I have a friend in North Dakota. So it is kind of, you know, it's kind of work to make sure you remain in touch with all of them. So I try to incorporate video games, which is something I like, into making sure I'm staying in touch with my friends too.
Who was like, you know, that person that influenced you, like, to keep pushing yourself?
That's a good question. I think, yeah, if someone were to ask me that in college, honestly, I don't feel like it would have had a real honest answer. But now, as I'm a few years older, so, and I've met a lot of cool people working in education. There's a teacher at Travis where I student taught. His name is Mr. Murtaugh, and he really influenced me in how I approach the work I do as a teacher. He really influenced me in how like I design what we do in class, how I work with you all. I remember this one moment, it was during lunch while I was student teaching there, and it was, I think we were waiting outside a door, because I was a student teacher, so I didn't have any keys. And I was just waiting outside his door, and there were 3 or so of his students standing there with me. And they were talking about class and how they really liked Mr. Murtaugh. And one of the kids said, like, yeah, Mr. Murtaugh gets us. He understands us. And that really resonated with me because, and that was, you know, like 3/4 of the way through the school year. I had seen a lot of the difficulties and challenges that people had going to Travis as students. And I knew of teachers that students didn't, that they had trouble with. So to hear students talk about how much they liked this person and how they feel understood, that was like an eye-opener for me. And I was like, I want to be a teacher where the students I work with can say that about me. So I'll probably remember that for a long time. Mr. Murtaugh kind of reminds me of, you know, why I started doing this in the first place. So, yeah.
How many years have you been teaching?
This will be my 3rd year teaching. So this school year we first came back from COVID in person was the year I student taught. So I think that was 2021 and 2022. So since then, after that year, I got a job at LBJ and have been here ever since. So I have 2 full years under my belt, and we're almost halfway through the 3rd one, which is kind of crazy.
What do you enjoy about LBJ?
Ooh, I enjoy a lot of things. I think, of course, the best part is you all. I get to wake up, come to school, and think about the kinds of conversations I get to have with you all, just checking in and seeing, you know, how your lives are going and how your other classes are going. And like, it's like, I know I've heard some students say like, Mr. I don't know, I couldn't be a teacher. These kids are crazy or they're too much. But I really enjoy it. Like, it puts me in a good mood. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that, like, I will remember you all for as long as I live. I don't think I could forget a single one of you. So I think you all make LBJ what it is and why it's such a special place for me. So I think that's one of my favorite parts. The teachers I work with are cool. I like being able to work and grow as a soccer coach, which before I started teaching, I didn't imagine I, would have that kind of role. So LBJ has also helped me like learn new skills in that way. So, yeah.
Well, that will wrap up this episode of Jags Tonight. Be sure to keep an eye out for the next episode and stay in tune the Jags Media YouTube channel for our upcoming Purple Pride segment led by Coach April Hart. Thank you again to my guest, Mr. Miller, and thank you to all for watching.
Yeah.